South Florida. This is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hi there and welcome to Headliners. I'm Lauren Pastrana. Break-ins and car thefts are a big problem in South Florida. What you may not know is you stand a better chance of losing out in your paycheck. Wage theft costs Americans more than any other type of theft each year. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray talked to workers who say they lost pay and fought back.
Roofing South Florida, it's demanding, dangerous, and physically draining. Back in 2019 and 2020, Alejandro Perez Gonzalez found himself high up, nailing and waterproofing for Chow Roofing at a rate of $130 a day.
Al principio nos pagaba.
At the beginning, he would pay us, but he absolutely, at the end, did us wrong.
That wrong is something called wage theft, defined as any time a worker doesn't receive wages to which they are legally entitled for their labor. In general, hourly workers.
So the issue can take many forms. Your boss asks you to work off the clock, overtime, you're shorted on tipping, you're not paid the minimum wage, or worse, you're not paid at all.
It happens in construction, to farm workers, home health and child care workers, in hotels, and Florida's booming restaurant business.
I worked at every corporate restaurant you could think of, in and out, multiple positions.
And during 16 years of being a South Florida server, bartender, and manager, Josh Windheim said he determined he wasn't paid fair wages and tips.
Cash tips at the end of the night, paying a bartender more than you should, them not showing you the printout at the end of the night because you're doing a 12-hour day and you just want to go home. You got the couple of $100 in your pocket. What's another 25, Joan, right? Well, that's how they get you. That's how they get you, with those little bits here and there, and then it adds up into something bigger.
Sometimes the employer just has no idea that the laws are in place or that those laws apply to their company. In those situations, that's not a defense. They still have to come into compliance. The employees there are still owed the prevailing minimum wage, and then if they're working over 40 hours, overtime wages at time and a half. But we see a lot of stuff where the company actually thinks they're complying with the law, but in reality they're not.
Jordan Richards is a Broward labor attorney who is working with Windheim to recover his lost wages.
We've had several restaurants in the South Florida area recently who have settled with us for upwards of $400,000 or $500,000 for class action cases.
There's always been that, wow, how could you, after everything, I mean, from coming in, days off working them, extra hours, I mean, buying uniforms, just being a yes man. And it's like, you know, it's hurtful.
Because Florida has no state agency handling unpaid wages, you can fight your case in civil court or go to the county. Miami-Dade has a wage recovery process. The Consumer Mediation Center in Miami handles disputes. Data shows pre-pandemic 2018 to 19, 1,503 wage dispute cases were filed. Workers say they lost about $3 million. Of that, a hearing officer determined $741,000 was to be repaid. Broward also has a wage recovery ordinance where you file a complaint and go to an administrative hearing. The county said just 179 workers filed cases in 3 years. But winning and collecting are two different things.
De veras, sí, nosotros fuimos afectados en lo personal.
My family here was affected, my family back in Guatemala was affected, and they would ask why I couldn't send money and why at the time we couldn't make ends meet.
Working with the outreach group We Count, Perez Gonzalez and 5 other roofers filed complaints to get back their lost wages. They won. According to documents we obtained, Chow Roofing was ordered to pay Perez Gonzalez $5,910.
We were affected by this company because the boss, he doesn't want to pay us and he won't pay us.
But after 3 years, including a protest in front of the owner's home, he says he hasn't seen a dime.
Bueno, nosotros, verdad, lo que queremos es de que...
And aside from non-payment of wages, this employer has threatened us. He's intimidated us for calling immigration, wanting us to be sent back to Guatemala.
Chow denied all allegations, but generally those kinds of threats are not unusual for the undocumented, says the immigration worker organizer at the Miami Worker Center.
There is that extra layer of fear, right, that people have with their immigration status, or that misinformation that they don't have any rights because they are undocumented workers, when actually labor laws do cover them as well.
The center will call an employer to resolve a wage dispute, but encourages workers to advocate for themselves.
Keeping track of your hours, knowing what your rights are, knowing that you have the right to the minimum wage.
Perez Gonzalez is now trying to get back the wages he says he lost in small claims court.
And how has it made you feel that this is taking so much time to resolve?
He's laughing in the face of authority. He's laughing in the face of law.
The battle to reclaim lost wages can be long, but worth it. Remember, that money can be used for rent, utilities, groceries, childcare, all the things to keep up with the cost of living keeps getting higher and higher here in South Florida. In Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS 4 News.
A mysterious South Florida landmark that's been around since the 60s is gone. The massive concrete arches along Tamiami Trail were knocked down recently. As CBS News Miami's Gabrielle Arzola reports, they've been connected to failed real estate, murders, and even an alleged alien abduction.
It was one of those structures you'd see while driving by that'll make you say,
what is that?
The famous spot has been seen by millions that venture into the Everglades or onto Chrome Avenue. Now, there have been a lot of theories as to why this 70-foot arch stood in a vacant lot since the 60s, but turns out it was built to be an entryway for a failed industrial park. But over the years, this desolate spot became a lot more interesting.
There's this recurring theme of strange things happening at the arch.
Jason Katz is with the Islandia Journal, and he went on the hunt to find the history of what else happened here.
There was a serial killer victim turned up dead underneath the arch one morning.
In 1976, notorious serial killer Samuel Little made a stop in South Florida. Police found one of his victims, 25-year-old Miriam Chapman, dead in this lot. But that wasn't the only thing these arches have seen. In 1979, a Hialeah man named Filberto Cardenas says what's below this land is something out of this world.
Gets abducted by an alien spacecraft and taken to their underwater base, and then when he comes to, it's underneath the trail arch. So I thought that there must have been some strange sort of energy pulling people here.
And according to the Miami Herald, in 1986, bank robbers named Michael Platt and William Matix were known to use this spot as a shooting range. Hurricanes, murder, and even aliens didn't get rid of this arch. This past week, this piece of unexpected history is now in pieces.
And I was just sort of blown away. I was like, it's not there anymore.
It is still unknown as to why the 60-year-old arch was torn down, but Katz says the memories that lie here will live on in Miami's very unique history.
The arch will live on in all of our memories from here on out.
Gabrielle Arzola, CBS 4 News.
Now it's the thing of legends. A Holocaust survivor living in South Florida is sharing his powerful story for a new museum exhibit. David Schachter's image is set to become an interactive hologram, which will answer questions about the Holocaust for generations to come. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten joins us now with why this project is especially significant for the 93-year-old.
I am now 93.
Holocaust survivor David Schachter recording his story of heartbreak and hope for generations to come.
We all had one thing in common, that was death.
We went back to Auschwitz with David in 2012. Standing outside where he was held, Barrack 8, he shared the horror of how his entire family was murdered. It's his story of survival that he will share through an interactive hologram.
We're asking David Schachter 1,000 questions to essentially piece his story together in a way in which you can have an active dialogue with a survivor.
The Shoah Foundation is filming David answering 1,000 questions. Eventually, he will appear in a hologram, allowing visitors to ask questions and then hear his responses. David wants to make sure that the stories of the Holocaust live on, especially with children.
I want these children to become my mouthpiece.
I want them to tell the story that they heard me telling them when I'm no longer. And that's my purpose.
He really asked us to be his voice.
Jody Kipnis from the Holocaust Legacy Foundation is one of the people putting this all together for the Boston Holocaust Museum. She first met David at Auschwitz when he shared his personal story.
When we talk about millions, that's a statistic. When we talk about one person, it's a story. So we can really learn some universal lessons of the stories of all the Holocaust survivors and what they went through.
David especially remembers the children who were killed by the Nazis and wants to make sure that no one forgets.
There were 1.5 million children under the age of 12. They did away with them. They gassed them. They shot them. They let them burn.
His desire to educate children is one he felt passionately about when we stood at the Majdanek death camp in Poland. Now his life's work of telling his story will live on well beyond his days.
I'm so overwhelmed that the world will see us, that the world will hear us, that they'll understand this enormity of the Holocaust, and that they'll never forget it.
David Schachter's story will first debut in Boston when the Boston Holocaust Museum opens in October of 2025, and at some point, it'll make its way here to Miami. In Miami, Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Mr. Schachter, for sharing your story. When Headliners returns, we'll get to know a local nonprofit and its mission to feed South Florida.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Lauren Pastrana. Turning now to people and places making Miami proud. Food pantries help families who are struggling to put a meal on the table, but these nonprofits often do much more than the obvious, generating a degree of love and support that is immeasurable. I'd love to introduce you to some organizers who devote their lives to helping others.
A highly organized drive-through at New Horizon Church in Southwest Ranches is a weekly lifeline for people experiencing food insecurity.
There are 80,000 children in Broward County who go without food every day when they go home, and we think that that should not happen.
For 12 years, the nonprofit Nourishing Lives has operated here and grown along with the need for basic meals. Pasta, canned food, fresh veggies, and more are carefully packaged for around 250 families each week.
Some will pick up from multiple families who don't have transportation.
It's much more than pantry items and pizza.
Making sure that they're getting all the love that they can through a smile, asking a simple question like, how are you? And making sure that their trunks are filled with as many food items as you possibly could fit in.
This has become their community. This has become a place that they belong, that they feel loved.
That love is in every smile and handwritten note. Families who may have lost a job or are just trying to keep up with inflation or worse. Stephanie had lost her job and was diagnosed with cancer.
They really stepped in and helped my family in a time where we just didn't really know where to turn.
The mother of two reluctantly accepted the help, both the food and a position teaching preschool at the church. She's now cancer-free.
We can be everybody's sort of home to call when they need a little help.
For volunteers like college student Nicholas Stein, who got involved in 2019, the work is rewarding and eye-opening.
Food insecurity is in your own backyard, and it's a battle on every front.
Time for another edition of Taste of the Town. This week, we showcase a restaurant tucked away in the corridors of Miami Beach's Española Way. It honors the Andalusian region of Spain, where tapas, cocktails, and whimsical art fill the space. Here's CBS News Miami's Lisa Petrillo.
On the west end of Miami Beach's historic Española Way is Tropizón, a charming gin and tapas bar and restaurant. Tropizón means to trip or stumble upon in Spanish, and with no sign outside, that often happens, says General Manager Derek Tormes.
And they kind of stumble upon it, and then it's fun to tell them the name and the direct translation. It's just kind of like that first entry. They're like, wow, what is this place? This is cool.
It is cool. The design, Derek says, is meant to mimic those old Spanish saloons.
You have old guys playing cards, you have women drinking sherry. You walk in and you're just hanging out.
It's a full bar, but the emphasis is on their love for gin, namely their homemade gin infusions featuring a collection of more than 22 variations of gin infused with anything and everything that sets the cocktail program apart. This one is passion fruit.
So we're not making the gin, but we are making what becomes of it, the maceration, the infusion process.
Got it.
Cooking them down, all of that is all us in-house.
Guests who sit at the bar get a complimentary welcome gin in a cold glass like this one that's kiwi infused. I try the fancy and elegant yuzu gin and tonic cocktail.
I love how pretty it is.
Thank you.
And I love how good it tastes.
The food is Spanish-style Andalusian tapas meant for sharing. We begin with the pan con tomate, or bread with heirloom tomatoes and garlic. Simple, but so refined.
So we're doing a 4-time gold medal award-winning olive oil from Spain, a Pedro Jimenez sherry, and then just really nice heirloom tomatoes with also crushed tomatoes underneath.
So you taste the quality of the olive oil, you taste the quality of all the seasonings in it, and then that fresh, just simple tomato on top, cold.
Next, the fresh and so refreshing tuna with ajo blanco sauce and salted cucumber. Then finally, gambas or prawns al ajillo with crispy garlic, arbol chili, and cognac.
Delicious. First of all, he cooked them so tender, and then the garlic, it's not too over garlic though. It's really light and wonderful.
Did you want to do a pro move?
What's a pro move? Sure, tell me.
Suck the
head?
Yeah.
Is that what you do actually?
Yeah.
I'm game. Suck the head is part of the thing?
Squeeze, yeah.
It ain't pretty, but it tastes good.
That's right.
Tropizan, an authentic Spanish adventure in food and drink in the heart of Miami Beach.
Back to my beautiful cocktail, but let's tell everybody, Derek, how many days you're open?
We're open 7 days a week for dinner only at the moment.
And lunch, looking forward to that in the fall.
Yes.
With a fantastic Taste of Town here on Miami Beach. I'm Lisa Petrillo, CBS 4 News.
Oh, the food looks great and the vibe looks cool. When Headliners returns, a special tribute to Miami-Dade police officer who made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting his community.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Lauren Pastrana. 5 months ago, Miami-Dade Police Detective Cesar Echeverry woke up, went on his normal run, and then went to work. But he never made it back home. Echeverry was killed in the line of duty. In his memory, officers from his unit will be running the Miami Marathon and Half Marathon with him in mind. CBS News Miami's Jacqueline Quinn takes us to their training in Doral.
This was Detective Cesar Echeverry on his last run.
On the morning of the incident that he was killed, he actually posted on social media that he was breaking in his new running shoes, and he was excited about his new running shoes.
Miami-Dade police officer Justin Heller was working with Echeverry in Miami's Liberty City neighborhood.
That night he ran towards a very violent individual without hesitation.
While trying to arrest a suspect tied to an armed robbery in Broward County, Detective Echeverry was shot. He died 2 days later in the hospital. His sacrifice has left an empty hole in the lives of friends, family, and co-workers.
What pace is this? 9:21.
That's why this Sunday, 4 officers who work in the Robbery Intervention Unit will be running in his honor in the Lifetime Miami Marathon and Half. And the officers here tell us that running was totally something that fit Detective Echeverry's personality because it required a lot of hard work and endurance.
I feel like it's definitely an outlet in a positive way, and gives you time to think and remember Etchy and everything that he sacrificed.
He was never complacent. He always wanted to be better, and it's easy in this profession, in this line of work, to get complacent and not stay up to your physical standards. And he was doing the complete opposite of that by putting in the work and running.
And they tell us Etchy never gave up, so they won't either.
13 miles, we're hoping to do it in about an hour and 45 minutes, so definitely the whole time that I can speak for myself, the whole time that I'm running, I will definitely be thinking of Cesar and the type of person that he was.
Next year, they hope to do all 26.2 miles. But no matter where they run, Etchy will always be with them in their hearts. In Doral, I'm Jacqueline Quinn, CBS 4 News.
Last week was Celebration of Life Day, and one South Florida school wanted to get people of all abilities out and moving. As CBS News Miami's Carly Barnett shows us, here's how one family is giving back.
All right, 15 seconds, here we go.
Nearly 150 people came together in Miami in a Sunday Funday sweat session.
It's so good to see you.
But it wasn't just a good workout, it was for a good cause, helping children with autism and disabilities in the process.
My parents founded a school for children with autism when my little brother was diagnosed. So I tried to think of a way to get people involved by giving back and also doing something that they want to be doing, which is working out and meeting people outside. So this was the way that I thought I could combine both.
Cassie Nelson's family founded the Victory Center, a school for children with autism, and they figured a great way to celebrate life is by focusing on self-care.
Don't drop anything, hold it.
Guillermo DeBello of Barry's Boot Camp instructed the hour-long workout.
It was pretty cool to see how much people actually care to help, and there's still hope in people that are willing to put something good out there.
Participants like Amanda Miller wanted to show support.
Everyone coming together to support their friends and family and community and sweating together and doing things as a family. It's just really awesome.
And there was a surprise check awarded to the Nelson family by the Making a Difference on and off the Field campaign presented by Buddy's Helpers.
And we're going to present the Victory Center with a $1,000 check.
To continue events like these, building confidence, having fun, and providing an activity that everyone could enjoy. Carly Barnett, CBS News, Miami.
Looks like a great time. Thanks for joining us this half hour on Headliners. As always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great one.